Welcome back to the Mina Show featuring Lenny. Monday Night Football recap edition. Domonique, we have two games to talk about. Two surprising games. Monday night, a lot of upsets this year. It feels like I should look that up, but I feel like that this has been one perhaps more surprising than the other. Commanders-Bears did feel pretty close going into this, but still, like, it's definitely been a string of interesting games. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this season there's been quite a few like surprising games, and I mean, I guess we're calling it parity, but it's also like no great teams. It's not like we have a
Yeah.
ton of great teams. That's why we have parity. It's just like everyone is flawed, and we certainly saw. I mean, I thought the Commanders were going to win. I think everybody did, or most people did. So they were definitely both upsets, and they had three turnovers. It still lost. So like, yeah, we'll get into all that, I'm sure.
You have to answer this immediately. You can't think about it. Who's the best team in the NFL?
Chiefs.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
always a safe. It's always a safe bet.
You see, Drew Brees did
Hold
a
on,
top 5,
who's
and, I have
uh,
Chiefs as well. Drew Brees did a top 5 on First Take, and he didn't have the Chiefs in his top 5, and he had the Niners, which shout out Drew Brees. You understand First Take. You're doing great.
That's
That
well
was my
played.
reaction to it. Okay. Yeah, let's start with the later game. Let's start with Commanders-Bears. A game that was very fraught to fan bases that have been going at it because of the quarterbacks being drafted where they were. You could argue, I think this is fair, that the Commanders kind of broke the Bears last year. This was
Yeah.
of course, the Tyreek Stevenson infamous Hail Mary game. So this is emotions hot running into this one. We can talk about the Commanders side and the turnovers that ultimately doomed them because that is kind of the story of the game on offense for them. But I want to start with the Bears offense, Domonique, because I found this to be maybe the most interesting part of the game for me. It felt the most Ben Johnson-y that this team has felt. That was my big take. I was
Yeah.
watching this and I was like, oh, okay. This is like the Lions, the remix that we're watching, because it's not exactly like Detroit. We can get into like some of the little things, but
Mhm.
in terms of like the under center, outside zone, it's actually working. Play action, the screen game is on fire. Everybody's blocking. I was like, this to me feels like Ben Johnson finally like putting his stamp on this football team.
That's funny because I mean I think when you say it, I obviously agree with you. I think you're right, but it's the first time, even though I've been talking about this game all day, it's the first time that I considered what that actually means for the quarterback.
Yeah.
Because the way that I've been talking about this game most of today is everybody pump your brakes. Like it feels like because they've been winning, and they started out 0-2, and like we have all the baggage from last year that just by the mere fact that they're winning, the story is Ben Johnson and Caleb are figuring each other out. But I know that you mentioned the fan bases are at each other's necks about their both first round quarterbacks last year. I didn't leave this game thinking like, oh, Caleb has arrived. Caleb is
Yeah.
super comfortable. It was clear that there's one guy out there that's a real deal top of the league quarterback that was in control even despite the turnovers of much of the game. And it also felt like Caleb still hasn't. And I guess the point I was trying to get to that I said you made me think of is like the peak Ben Johnson. We think of how it is designed to help Jared Goff. And when Jared Goff is playing really well in that offense, it makes him perform maybe better than we think that he would be capable on his own. And that's not what we want in the future for Caleb, but I guess you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I think though, watching this Bears team thus far, Caleb's played well this
Yeah.
year, and I thought he was good in this game. I just thought th I think the reason why I don't mean to, like, give too much credit to the coach. That's kinda not what
Mhm.
I'm saying. I think but, like, this was the first game where I was like, I bet
Yeah.
Ben Johnson turned on the tape and he was really happy because like, they have let's start with what I think, again, to me, was the biggest story of the game. They finally ran the ball well,
Yep.
and this is the team that's not been able to run the ball well at all this year. And so much of what Ben Johnson wants to do as a play caller, going back to Detroit, is based on having a dominant run game. But it wasn't just that they ran the ball well, it was like the way it looked going back and watching some of those outside zone runs. It really did look a little bit like Detroit in terms of like the execution of the offensive line in particular. And then again, the skill players I thought were blocked really well in this game, and that really showed up on the screens. But like the tackle, I mean, actually not just
Yeah.
the tackles, but the linemen were moving in
Yeah.
this one. Like the bear, it felt like they were because off outside zone. run blocking is really about working together as a unit. And it felt like for the first time watching them from the end zone view, they were exerting their will and move and playing as one as an offensive line. That was like my big takeaway from watching them. Like Swift was great and he was,
Yeah.
they had a couple of really fun play calls that got him big explosives, but
Right.
it was mostly, I think 4 of the 5 the biggest runs were to the right side, Darnell right side. He was moving out there, Dominique.
I know that's why you said tackles and you took it back and said offensive lines, but no, tackles matter. And I think the reason why you were saying tackles or thinking of tackles is in part because those outside zones, the end, they were like collapsing the end of the line, and that is the most important thing. So my first 3 seasons with the Denver Broncos with Mike Shanahan, and we ran the zone running scheme, and I was on defense, of course. But the thing that they coached us defensively, and Mike Shanahan would coach us defensively about stopping that zone, is you need to set a hard edge on both sides. You can't let them move the line. You have to set that corner, which stops and compresses all the gaps and forces like a wind back. And then you also need to be on the back end, is normally a cornerback, to set that edge there too. And you could see that there were no edges being set. And the the Commanders' defensive line isn't bad. Like they got some good players. They
Yeah.
dominated the Giants early in the season, so that is impressive.
I was actually surprised by how poorly I thought the Commanders' front 7 played in this
Yeah.
one, the run def it wasn't just the line, it was the linebackers as well. It felt like, um, yeah, they were just they looked less athletic than
How do you Can
Chicago.
I ask you a question? How did you Okay, I guess that answers it. I was gonna ask is like how do you differentiate between them playing poorly or the Bears making them play poorly?
It's a mixture of yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's like there's it's a mixture of sometimes it's they're getting pushed around, and that's the
Mhm.
Bears' offensive line, and it is playing poorly, but, like, when you're kinda looking at what you're describing. But there
Yeah.
were also plays where I thought, like, on the interior, the defensive tackles for Washington just didn't play the right Kinlaw, they're just,
Yeah.
like, not playing it well. Sometimes I thought Kinlaw was, like, overly aggressive because they knew that some of these were gonna be play action passes. That was
Right.
another thing I noticed in this game. It felt like both the front 7 at times almost, like, overplayed the play which is why when we
Yeah.
talk about play action, we talk about how the play action pass can help the run because you're
Mhm.
seeding that doubt in the minds of the defense, and I thought that was the case. It's a heavy play action game for Chicago again, and I thought that was the case. I think, like, they looked tentative. Linebackers, I thought at times, like, they were just not fitting it well, choosing
I mean,
wrongly.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I keep
So
going back to,
I
like, scheme with this one, but it just was
right.
like, "Oh, they're really they're finally settling into identity on offense with Chicago."
I absolutely think that you're right. The scheme certainly is important here because it's a Ben Johnson staple. We don't know what it would look like if, or what he would like evolve to if he didn't have this
Yeah.
effective outside zone running game. And we're not going to need to find out, it seems, by the way that they block this. But to your point, and that's why I was having a hard time like grading, I guess, the Commanders defense because particularly the linebackers, because there are plays where you're right, they choose wrong, but they also have like linemen in their lap where it's like
Yeah.
the you don't have a two-way go anymore. You can't see as clearly. So yeah, it's a breakdown all around because that's one of the things that I feel like Warner and Luvu are good at is like playing the run, and they did not in this game.
Yeah. Yeah. Wagner, yeah, that was surprising,
Oh, who did I
honestly.
say? I said
You
Warner.
said
Oh,
Warner, yeah.
yeah,
Warner's
Wagner.
very good at playing the run, yeah.
Yeah.
No, Wagner's usually good,
Well, he
but
was.
this is
Warner was.
yeah, Wagner, this was, a tough one for him and Luvu as well, and yeah, I mean, like, the passing game I mean, to me, the story of the game for watch Chicago was running the football.
Yeah.
They hit some good play action passes, I mentioned that, like the deep over to Burden. I thought the play design on 3rd and 4, the commander sent an all-out blitz for the Swift where he, like,
Yeah.
motions into the stack and then runs like an out and out. That was nice. Again, Caleb I thought was good.
Yeah.
A couple mistakes, but I just this to me the screens also like some of the screen designs are really lovely, and it was like convoys of dudes going back and watching on tape. Really well executed. Story of the game for me from Chicago side though was this run game finally clicking into place. And if they can run the ball like that,
Yeah.
like, I mean, that's, like, really impressive.
Yeah.
Um, okay, on the flip side, like, so you talked about it with Jayden. I don't think he played poorly, but it is there's a couple things happening, and we're gonna talk about with the Bills and this, like, concept of regression. When we talked about the Commanders, we talked about, like, the possibility of, like, some of the things they were doing last year,
Yeah,
maybe coming back to earth a little bit, and watching them I mean, turnovers is one of them, like, they just didn't you just didn't turn over the ball last year, and the turnovers in this one were just absolutely brutal from a EPA,
yeah.
standpoint. Um I guess, like, my question for you is, like, when you watch this Commanders offense, do you think it's just turnovers, or do you think there's anything beyond it in terms of struggles that are jumping out to you watching them?
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time assessing any or blaming anything in this game other than three turnovers. Like they gave away three possessions, and it wasn't even just random possessions. They were significant possessions that were going to result in points. Like the end of the game was like a game sealing drive in the ball. To your point, like this is not practice stuff that you can improve upon or something you can criticize. Like Jayden Daniels turns around and the ball slips out of his hand. Like that's not something that you can like knock the offense necessarily for. It sucks. Hold on to the ball. the
Yeah.
the red zone turnover where he threw the interception. Again, it's like we're about to get seven. It turns into three for the other side for a mistake that Jaden Daniels rarely makes. So yeah, and then there was another fumble that they were moving the ball again. It didn't feel like I mean they were running the ball well. They still like you don't want to walk away feeling good about anything in this game because you lost, but you had three turnovers and still probably should have won the game. That's like
Yeah.
super rare to give away three possessions and still be in a position 1 yard away from sealing that game, probably.
Yeah, like, the botched handoff, it was raining out there. I mean, we're not making excuses. I'm just like,
Right.
we're looking at this through the lens of like, did they do anything wrong? Not that, but more like, okay, do we have things to worry about in the future? I'm not worried about Jane Daniels botching handoffs and when it's not like pouring rain. Interception, he was late on that, right?
Yeah.
And it was a great play by Brisker. It was interesting, by the way, like that the Bears defense to take a moment. It was guys have been slowly returning to the lineup. They were pretty banged up earlier than year. Gordon, Brisker, and like they're starting to get healthier. Obviously, no Jalen Johnson hurt, although Nishan Wright was the one who he had a really bad. He like tried to jump a screen. I think that was one of the. Was that him who
Oh,
tried
that
to jump that?
touchdown. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was not good.
But we're
But
back on the Bears now.
no.
Yeah.
I want to say with the Washington offense, I thought they would run the ball better in this one than they did, and I think going back and watch it, I thought like the Bears. It was more to me about Bears defensive improvement from the
Mhm.
beginning of the year, in that regard. But yeah, like I'm not worried about the Washington offense going forward. I think that it was a weird rainy game and turnovers
Yeah.
happened. I am worried about the Commanders' run defense. Like if I'm coming, and not to
Yeah.
keep harping on like what's the story of this game, but like if I'm coming out of this thinking, okay, that was it for Chicago. I'm like, yes, you're running the ball, you're screening off, you're play actioning. For Washington moving forward, because this was such a problem for them last year, right? Like you think
Yeah.
about the way they lost in big games and just getting gashed, and it felt like they had improved. So to see that bad of a performance in run defense, I think if I had to pick a Commanders fan, like what's the one thing I'm worried about, that would be it.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to improve significantly. They have to. This feels like this is why you have Jaden Daniels. It's like the margin of error is slim for him. It's like they have to get in these situations where they can control the game offensively and defensively by having a lead. And I don't imagine, and they because you can't stop the run. And I would say that from a roster strength standpoint, your secondary is probably the weakest point on your roster. So like you're not in a great position if you need to supplement the run game with people from the secondary, and then you're putting your cornerbacks in isolation who you wouldn't want to trust back there anyway by themselves. So their defense, I do think, is in trouble if the expectation is as high as the result was last year or any higher than that, which was conference championship. That doesn't feel feasible unless they get early leads every time, honestly.
All right, that's a big win for Chicago. I mean, I think these teams are about the same. Like, we
Yeah.
talked at the top about not about the same, but like there's a reason why it was if they play this game 10 times, I kind of think they split it 50-50.
Yeah, I disagree.
I
I
think the
think the
Commanders are
Commanders. Yeah, I think the
even the
Commanders win most of
defense.
them.
I don't
Yeah,
know, man. I'm out on this.
yeah,
Do you think I'm
I'm out on this too.
overly worried about the
No,
defense?
I don't think you're overly worried about the run defense. I guess I'm just going off of the game that we saw. It didn't feel
Right.
like, and
The
it's
Commanders
like,
should have won if not for the turnovers.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Um,
guess the way that they won felt like something that I don't think they could count on a bunch more times.
Chicago,
But
yeah.
yeah,
Um, I hear you. I am very interested. Who do the Bears have this coming week? Oh, they're in bye. No, they have New Orleans. Okay, good. I'm really interested in seeing if they can continue to run the ball at this level. I
yeah.
think that's going to be the big like, how seriously should I take this team moving forward is going to come down to that. Um, okay, Bills. The Bills go down to Atlanta. First half was ugly. Then they sort of clawed their way back. We could talk about it. Um, I want to talk about the Falcons at length, and we will. And there's so many exciting things happening in Atlanta. But I want to start by talking about the Bills' offense in this one, and the Falcons' defense and the pass rush, obviously being the other side of it. Um, I put out a post during the game, Falcons fans, how does it feel to watch a competent pass rush? And their responses are so funny. You know how my love for Falcons fans is well
Yeah.
documented, but just the videos and like, I mean, this team, they haven't seen a pass rush like this in 15 years. I mean, it's so very happy for you. We will talk about it. I promise.
Mhm.
But I want to throw something at you about the Bills. I know I started with like, here's my theory on the Bears, but I want to watching Josh Allen in this offense, did it not feel to you? It felt a lot to me like it did watching Patrick Mahomes at the beginning of this year
Right.
and at times last year. Patton. No one's open, taking sacks, no real weapons to worry about.
Yeah.
That's kind of the story of it right now, wouldn't you say? I know Bills fans are very mad at Joe Brady. We could talk about that.
Right.
But like it just feels like
So
watching them, it just feels like it did watching the Chiefs.
it's this specific game. So yeah, I agree with you. Obviously, it feels slightly different, but the general concept is the same because this Falcons team was aggressive. I feel like the story on the
Yeah.
Mahomes situation was like they couldn't protect, so people didn't even have to blitz, and he didn't have
True.
any like receivers to bail him out.
True.
Like
Falcons were blitzing
this,
the hell out of him.
this
Yeah.
felt a lot more like to me um like early Lamar, like after Lamar was a
Yeah.
starter for a couple of years,
Yeah, when
and
teams
then
started
people
blitzing the hell
decided,
out of him
yeah,
and
and he
nobody was
didn't
there
have
to
a
yeah.
weapon. Like that's what it felt like to me.
You
It
know
was
what?
like we're
That's a
just gonna,
better you're right, that's a
yeah,
better
we're just
analogy.
gonna attack the hell out of him, and the fear is like, all right, he'll break a tackle, then we're in trouble. But if he doesn't break the tackle, and this goes back to the, I guess Brandon Beane's offseason kind of tirade is a stretch, but his offseason aggressive defense of not having like a true number one receiver is it's a strategy, and there are trade offs when you make these decisions. And you know how I feel. I had this conversation with Jeff Saturday earlier today about he was not happy with their plan to pick up the blitz, and I was making the point that rather than pick up the blitz, you have to make them pay for blitzing you, but you don't have anybody. Like I would love for him, or you don't have anybody
Yeah.
that scares the defense. I would love for him to get rid of the ball quickly to a guy that's in a one-on-one matchup, and there be like a fear that there's a broken tackle and makes a big gain. That was why they just felt so comfortable blitzing over and over again. It's like they didn't
Yeah.
have anybody out there that scared you.
Yeah, even the moments where he got it off to someone, they were able to rally and tackle them short of the sticks, which again, a lot of that credit belongs to the Falcons defense and like the way their front and their coverage work together, I thought was really impressive. But notably, I mean, this is not an excuse, but so much of an explanation. So Dalton Kincaid didn't play in this game,
Mhm.
and Josh Palmer went out early. So he hits the bomb to Palmer early
Right.
on. I think it was off of like play action out of 22 personnel, if I remember correctly. Because so they were using a lot of heavy because no Kincaid in this game, right?
Mhm.
And um after that, I'm thinking, okay, is this finally the Keon Coleman breakout? And he just didn't do anything in this, which is, yeah, pretty. So I just pulled this up. Sorry, I was buying time Dalton Kincaid, when Josh Allen is blitzed this year, leads the team in targets per route run. That's what I wanted to
Wow.
see. He doesn't lead in target share, but if he's actually running a route out there, he's been a target for Allen who's blitzed. It felt like off the top of my head, that's why I wanted to pull it up. And like I'm not saying if Dalton Kincaid plays in this game and Palmer doesn't get hurt, that they're gonna win. No. But and the other side of the ball has a lot to do with that, which we'll get to. But it's like, damn, you're in a position as a team where you need Dalton Kincaid and Josh Palmer to play. And that's not to say I like Kincaid a lot in particular, but like, who's winning for you?
Yeah. I mean, I had liked, I guess it was 2 years ago, I really liked Shakir and thought that he could
Yeah.
develop into that guy, like short area quickness type to get separation. But it's just, they don't have a guy, which is, they
Yeah.
made this decision with Stephon Diggs, which is fine. No one can knock the decision. It's funny because every year I feel like there are legitimate criticisms of the decisions that the Bills make, and then they come out and prove that it doesn't matter as much as we think it matters. But sometimes it matters. You're going to lose some games that you expect to win because you don't have all the tools that you would love for your quarterback to have, and defensively too. Like we didn't get to their defense,
Yeah,
which was
that to me
not
is
pretty either.
actually the bigger problem
Yeah.
because I think in most so the Bills offense, this is another way it feels like the Ravens that was the better analogy than the Chiefs because if they're running the ball
Mhm.
well and dominantly and they're not behind, everything kind of flows off of that.
Right.
Um, but again, with the Ravens, you've seen this as well over that because they don't have dominant receiver play. If they're not running the ball well, things get a lot dicier. The Bills, like they actually ran decently well in this. It wasn't dominant, but yeah, like Cook had a 65% success rate, but they had to go away from it, obviously, falling from behind.
Yeah.
I could feel Joe Brady like trying to stick with the run through the game, but
It could have been worse. Like it could have been over if they didn't get the time running out just before halftime. I feel like the game would have been even worse.
ooh,
Where London
yeah.
barely misses a touchdown.
I do want to give a lot of credit to the Falcons defense here. You talked about the pressure. We talked about the blitzing. They blitzed him the highest rate he's seen since 2021 in this game. Uh, I ultimately ended up with he had like the highest rate of pressure. This is True Media stats since the 2020 AFC Championship. Yes, some of that was holding onto the ball, guys getting open, but a lot of it was the Falcons. Even when the four-man rush, I feel like the four-man rush had a good pressure rate in this. I can pull that up. But I thought, like I think what we're seeing is this is not a perfect unit. There's still holes on the back end, but I think it is dramatically better than last year. The pass rush is really, like the where this thing is being bread and buttered right now. Um, and it's fun to watch, man. Like this is the Falcons defense that's just been what else I loved, by the way? I want to talk about this quickly. When they would rush 4,
Mhm.
it felt like the defensive line, it wasn't a spy, was so good at hemming
Right.
in out. Like that was really impressive to me, the way they caged him in with their pass rush. And it wasn't like it was mostly the defensive line.
I
I
was
thought they were
wondering,
tremendous.
just yeah, they were great in those situations. It feels like, and this is just completely like just off the top of my head, but there's like a progression for defenses. They go from being bad to good. The first step feels like a blitz heavy version. Like it feels like that is the
Yeah.
way. Like early aggressive is like you mature from that to like a more like I guess a more conservative defense, but certainly early on when you got a lot of young, highly drafted, talented people, like you just kind of want to turn up the heat.
Yeah.
And the result may not always be good, but it feels like that's the best possible thing you can do for a young defense. And I know that like Ulbrich style wise, is generally a little bit more aggressive, but I don't know. There was no like point to that statement. It just jumped in my head as I was thinking about like a lot of these defenses start out that
I think they're leaning into their strength, which is
way. Mhm.
I'm still not looking at this and seeing a dominant edge.
Yeah.
But they might have, like, the best blitzing linebacking group in the NFL. Ellis,
Mm.
Diablo, good player. So, like, that might
Yeah.
be part of it, like,
Yeah.
I think just kind of figuring out what are we actually I mean, Onyemata was really good in this too, but, like, just kind of being like, what are we actually really great? Okay, we got these
Yeah.
Caden Ellis always has these, like, insane pressure numbers as a blitzer. He did last year too. And I think Ulbrich leaning into that is really smart. I mean,
Yeah.
they're really
And the
good blitzers.
and the Bills play right into their hands. It's kind of like a styles makes fight situation
Yeah.
too, where because they don't have those scary guys to that you don't want to leave isolated, they're like, oh, this is perfect.
All right. Other side of the ball. Bijan Robinson.
Fun.
MVP case?
Yeah, I mean, sure, why not? We can have fun and pretend like a running back's gonna get it at this point in the season. That'd be great.
So this was more predictable than the other side, right? Because the other side was like, "Whoa, this is crazy that the Falcons defense is doing this to Josh Allen." The Falcons offense running roughshod on the Bills was a lot more predictable. And if the Bills don't go on a deep playoff run this year, I know we talked about like, oh, the offense, do they have enough guys or whatever? They'll be fine, I think. It's the
Yeah,
defense that's ultimately what is gonna tank him if they can't get it fixed. Um, I mean, they just get pushed around.
yeah,
They really I one of the things I highlighted going into this game on NFL Live yesterday was how much the Bills off defense struggles with motion at the snap. You constantly see guys getting displaced and especially the second and third level of the defense. Atlanta uses a ton of motion in their running game and just it looked exactly like I mean, it was really bad. And then you take a running back who's like just slicing through teams like a hot knife through butter and you
yeah.
on top of this existing dynamics and it's pretty ugly as a result.
Bijan is fun, man. Like, you're right about all the things that you said, but we only get to have fun with Bijan when he can get to the second level. And they were allowing him, like the
Yeah,
81-yard run, he barely got touched. And then when he did get touched, he showed his power. Like the strength and vision and all that stuff was super impressive for Bijan. But it's a good, again, to go back to the styles make fights things, is it's a reminder about the decisions that the Bills have made when you see that the Falcons, though they haven't had as much success as the Bills, they've obviously gone the other way, where it's like we're going to draft a bunch of special guys, and it hasn't worked out perfectly. But the Drake London touchdown early in the game was like strength and special player stuff. Like that was, I'm going to catch it and hold the ball over because I'm a unique size and talent. Bijan is the same thing. It's like that wasn't great scheming. Like, of course, yeah, motions, whatever. All right, yeah. 81-yard touchdown is the running back being special. And then there's that touchdown the touchdown that wasn't just before halftime, where it's like Drake London is doing special stuff. The guy like that for the Bills is
yeah.
James Cook, maybe. But when
He's
you're
good.
out of it early,
He's
yeah, I
good.
mean, but when
Yeah,
you're out of it early, it's different. He's
right.
not like their third down back.
Yeah.
He's a run game guy. So anyway, back to the Falcons. Yeah, it just was fun
I
watching them
mean,
play.
I sorry to keep beating up the Bills, but like the contrast with just like Keon Coleman
Yeah,
on one side, Drake London on the other, it's a tough
yeah,
comp. Um London, yeah, he went crazy in this one, 158 yards, touchdown. He was targeted on half of his I mean, he was like the passing attack in this. And he's so good in the slot. He's so good on those in breakers. I really love his feel for zone coverage. It felt
yeah.
like the Bills defense had a ton of air in it, right? Like,
Mhm.
but he was just again been an issue all year long, but he was really good at finding the soft spots in the zone. And Penix was good at in the moments where he had to be at finding him. He was good in this. I think, in the second half it was a little like, "Oh, I don't know
Yeah,
about that," but it didn't matter. I saw, I forgot who I think it was Patrick Claybon who posted this on Blue Sky, but he was like yes, it was Patrick Claybon. He he said, "Coming into this, statistically, the Bills' defense has made everyone look like Bijan. Here's what happens when they actually face Bijan." And I think that was
yeah,
kind of the story of the game. It's just like,
yeah.
"Oh my god." Um,
Penix tried to throw one away too. He tried to throw a pick six,
yeah, I
if
did.
I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
That's
Yeah,
why it's funny, like, all these across all the games, the quarterback play was, like, not really the story of the game in any of these games for me on either side,
Yeah,
winning or losing. Yeah, he was fine, but Bijan was the story, Drake London was the story, the Bills' defense
yeah.
was the story, and just to sit on that for a second, like, can this be fixed in Buffalo? Because it just seems like, they've been missing some guys. They when I saw the nose, Daquan Jones he like got hurt during warmups. Literally, I audibly went, "Oh no," because
Yeah.
this team. Like, what would you do if you're Buffalo defensively? Is there any moves to be made?
Yeah, I mean, I keep hearing that this is supposed to be like the most active trade deadline in NFL history. That's what some of the insiders are hyping up. But I just don't like. We never know who is available. So, like, of course, there are moves that could be made, but I don't know who actually is on the block. So it's hard to speculate because there's not even any rumors really about some
What
big
position would you go after?
tackle.
Forget names. You don't have to name names.
Yeah.
Like, what position do you think is like the most glaring need on this defense? Safety?
Yeah, I mean that when they were at their best, they had really good safety play. So I guess I'd go with safety. I mean D line is kind of a cure all whenever there's a problem. If you can somehow upgrade your D line, it makes everyone else's job a little bit easier. Like linebackers can move more freely. The
Yeah.
pass rush gets better. So it's just hard to find those type of difference makers. I don't know how many players you'd have to get if the right one isn't available.
Yeah, I do think there's gonna be some receivers that are available for
Yeah, that would
trade as
help.
well, and I think that would help too, yeah, to add some they need
That feels like the
speed.
most tradable position too. Is that like fair?
Yeah,
I feel like receivers is always like something that
yeah,
people are
yeah.
willing to move on from, and also feel that it could have a big impact.
How often do they actually end up being impactful, though?
Yeah, I mean Amari Cooper is the one we go back to, and it's not when Amari Cooper joined the Bills last year. It's when Amari Cooper joined the Cowboys, and they springboarded into
I'm
something
looking
else.
at
I
the
don't
bad
know who
teams and
else
thinking
in
about who
recent
might be
history.
traded. Jerry Jeudy, maybe? I mean, the Bills could use Joku. That's an interesting one, not for Buffalo, but for another team. But yeah, I'm not seeing a lot of receivers, actually. I'm looking at the list of potential trade candidates, ESPN, Rashid Shaheed, they could use him. Olave, Jacoby, how dare they take away my dear Spencer Rattler's weapons? Spencer Rattler, the best one in five quarterback in the history of the NFL.
Yeah,
All right, so I pulled up a list of trade candidates, receivers, Olave and Shaheed. They could use both of them. Jacoby Myers, nah, Lazard, Tyler Lockett, Brandon Cooks, God, Saints. I guess they do have a lot of receivers. Shaheed would be nice in Buffalo. We'll see. Um, okay, so as far as Atlanta goes, I think I want to wrap by asking you, watching them do this last night, do you think this team can give the Bucs, who I'm about to talk about on the other side, an actual run for the NFC South?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that's the problem with this is like the Falcons are kind of the opposite of the Bills in that every year I look at that team like, yeah, they should be a problem, and then they kind of come up short. Whereas the Bills, it's like, a lot of holes, and then somehow they figure it out. So like I think the helmets make me a little bit less have a little less faith in what they are capable of doing, but I- the way that the Bucs have been playing and winning close games with all these injuries, and when the receivers start to come back, the Bucs have those type of
Yeah,
guys. They have the
yeah.
type of guys that would make you scared to blitz. And Baker is a quarterback who's accurate. We saw him take a big hit and throw a touchdown. Like it feels that he's playing on a level right now that defense, that Falcons defense, isn't gonna
All right, you're
torment him
getting
the way
ahead
they
of
did.
me. The Bucks are my winner. Let's take a quick break, come back, and talk about Tampa. All right, we're back. The Bucks are my winner for this week. You mentioned how well they've been playing despite the injuries. I think that's what's like so incredible about this, right? Is that especially offensively that they've been able to keep it up. Baker Mayfield, MVP front runner. I sometimes feel like with him, hits like make him more powerful. He's like a video game character where like when he gets hit, he like gains like juice as the game goes along. So obviously, he's the story of the team, the offense right now. because they've been losing all of these players, and it seems like he continues to still produce at a higher level regardless. Um, cause, I've talked about how well he's playing. I guess
Yeah.
what's the thing when you watch him, aside from just the context, that impresses you the most about his play?
Yeah, I think it's his anticipation. Like, I think his anticipation, and I mean, I feel like it's anticipation. It might be that he's actually making these decisions this quickly, which either way, those are really impressive. But it does feel like some of this stuff is veteran savvy stuff
Yeah.
that when we talk about where he was before, why you wouldn't have seen this back then. There are lots of reasons why not, but it does feel like he's seen it all at this point, and he's always been an accurate passer, and he's had his mind made up where or he has a clear picture of what could happen to him. And if it happens, what the defense is trying to do. And he seems prepared for every situation. It really stood out against the Seahawks a couple weeks ago because they run some really challenging things. And then again, it just is in the back of my mind, like, damn, he seems ready for every situation and is not surprised by what the defense is doing.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, and the story of a lot of quarterbacks around the NFL right now. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, that and like just accuracy is,
Yeah.
I mean, just going back and watching some of these throws on tape, just dots. And I think what you're seeing with Tampa is even without, you know, again, their full suite of skill players, super accurate, aggressive quarterback and a play caller who is doing a really good job. And
Yeah.
when those two things meet, the offense is explosive. Really quick on the play caller, I think that was something I wanted to hit with the Bucs being a winner. So going back and watching the San Francisco game, Baker lights out some really, really special throws. Also, Baker, by the way, as a scrambler, another huge important element to this offense. Actually, I have some numbers on that. Baker as a scrambler, okay, because there was a play in the Niners game where it was like 3rd and 14, and he scrambled for 15, and then he hit Tez Johnson on the MVP ball. um, but Baker leads all quarterbacks this year in EPA per carry.
Wow.
Woo! Which
That
basically
was
means his runs have been the most impactful
right.
runs. It's very Mahomesian, frankly, the way he is scrambling in on 3rd down in particular this season. And like, the accuracy, the aggression, all of that is a big deal. But like watching him, I think it cannot be overstated how important his scrambling ability has been to the offense this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think those early season game winning drives were like 50% of those drives, like pivotal 3rd and 4th downs. I felt like, particularly against the Texans, it stands out in my mind. Like that Monday night game, I think it was, where he just kept scrambling on those big plays, which I imagine those are the reason why the EPA is so high, is because he's scrambling in those late game situations, which you're right, it's Mahomesian. And I want to get back to like the accuracy and the anticipation. I think those things are connected. Right. So, like, I think part of his ability to be so accurate, of course, he's an accurate passer, but he's not deciding what he's going to do with the ball in the fraction of a second that he has once the play is started. He's already kind of in his mind understanding what he's going to see and where he's going to go with the ball. He seems so comfortable in these
Yeah.
situations. And I think that adds to what we talked about. I think we talked about him a couple weeks ago or last week about how he moves in the pocket to set up his blockers. I think that's all. There's no way that you can see the pressure and also see the coverage. I think he just has a mental picture, which again, it's experience, it's comfort, it's confidence. He has a mental
Just
picture of what's happening downfield.
there's just like this situational awareness, I think,
Yeah.
to kind of capture like people are like, wow, how does he so good and on these game winning drives and fourth quarter? Well,
Yeah.
I really think like this, like, here's exactly what is required of me in this moment to keep, this drive alive. The thing I wanted to mention about Grizzard before we move on, because I
Oh,
do think
see.
he is another one of these dudes. Yeah, Josh Grizzard.
Cesard from Lizard, right?
Grizzard from Lizard. Um, so Fred Warner goes out in the first quarter, like halfway through the first quarter, and it's funny because he was going against Kyle Shanahan. He
Hmm.
just was like, "Oh baby," and just attacked them
Yeah.
mercilessly. Between the numbers, I pulled this because I was curious. Baker Mayfield season average throwing middle of the field is 26%, went up to 40% in this game. Another thing the Bucs did was understanding that Warner is the quarterback of the defense, right?
Yeah.
just cranked up the motion to like ungodly levels. Going into this week, they used motion at the snap at a high amount, 37%. In week 6, it was 62%. The touchdown to Johnson, I keep saying Cam Jordan, Cam Johnson, he like motions across the formation. Niners are like, oh no, like, what do we do? Like nobody covers him. He's going out the right
Fred,
sideline.
what do we do,
Yeah,
Fred?
Fred. But again, I think when we talk about like play callers, what makes them great, obviously game planning is big, but in-game adjustments, recognizing, oh, they're screwed now, and then pressing your thumb. That was not my thumb, but pressing on that weakness was something I thought he did really well in this.
Agreed. And sometimes I wonder about like, and this is a little bit off the not a little bit, it's kind of a lot off of the specifics of this game, but um who's responsible for these in-game like contingency plans? Because I don't imagine that they came into this game like, all right, when Fred Warner gets hurt,
Yeah,
we're going to shift everything. Like that takes a skill. And I just imagine that one coach is thinking about a bunch of different things. The process of how all this stuff is working really
yeah.
fast in the course of a game. I just wonder how that comes to be, but it worked in that situation for sure.
Yeah, I always think about that, like, when guys get hurt and then, like,
Mm,
it's usually a cornerback, right? Like, when
right.
the backup comes in and they just start throwing at him. That's a
Yeah.
little simpler. It's
That's
like,
pretty
"Cool,
straightforward. Yeah.
we're hunting this guy." But if you think about space and you think about what Fred Warner represents in terms of space and communication, I think it makes sense, like, let's lean into
No,
these parts of our offense. But no,
yeah.
I hear what you're saying, like, I know
Right.
I'm saying it, like, it
I
is
mean, I
interesting
get that it
stuff.
makes sense. I guess I just was thinking about it in practice in the course of a
Oh, yeah.
game because it's not just the Fred Warner injury. Because you're right, Fred Warner gets hurt. We're going to change our game plan a little bit, but it's just thinking about how the communication works in the course of a game because you see that. I don't know. I guess I just imagine that there's somebody who's like responsible for each level of the defense to find out where the mistakes are and how we're going to address them and attack them. And that Fred Warner one, like that changed the complexion of the game. And then, yeah, it leads us to another conversation at some point, I think.
You have a fun winner,
I do.
Carolina
The
Panthers.
Carolina
I
Panthers.
said,
Yeah. I
"Let's talk
mean,
about them because let's take this
yeah.
opportunity to talk about it," we'll see when they get
Yeah.
back to their winners, but
Rico and them boys. Yeah, I
woo,
mean,
woo,
he is
buddy.
having an incredible stretch right now, and I guess it opens up the questions of what you do when Chuba comes back, because the way that Rico
Yeah,
Dowdle is playing right now is all pro level stuff. Of course, this Cowboys defense isn't a great defense, but the numbers he put up are impressive. He's certainly earned himself some more work or some more reps as things go forward. This offense, though, it seems like one that could develop in a way that is like I felt like Dave Canales was in a situation where last year was like, it's not going to work with this quarterback. Then it's working with this quarterback. It's an injury. Then it's working with this quarterback. And now it feels like you don't feel great about the quarterback, but all of a sudden you're running the shit out the ball. And it feels like it's really hard to assess some of the things that are
yeah.
going on there. But if you're having success, you're at 500. We'll see how things go the rest of the year. But this, like you mentioned, this might be the only time we get a chance to celebrate them, but it does feel like it opens up um, an opportunity to separate the quarterback from the coach in our assessment at some point.
Well, I think it's always hard to know what to take from a Cowboys game in the passing attack. Sorry. What? Am I wrong?
No, you're
I
not
actually
wrong.
think running on Dallas is more impressive than passing on Dallas at
Really?
this point
Okay.
because the
Yeah, I guess that's right.
the
Yeah, that's
defense.
fair.
Did you see I posted it, the Tet McMillan touchdown versus Donovan Wilson on tape? He sent
What?
him where he
Oh,
wraps him
yeah,
up.
yeah, 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 yeah. I did.
It's so hard to watch. I mean, Ted McMillan is freaking awesome, and
He's so good.
dude,
I
he is glad they didn't overthink that because he is everything I thought he would be.
what was the overthinking that he said he didn't like football enough or something like that?
Yeah, and people were like, "He
Yeah,
doesn't separate." I'm like, "Sorry,
yeah.
did we forget that he's gigantic and catches everything and he's smooth with the ball? Like, what are we doing here?"
I'm one of
Um,
those people. People are like, he doesn't separate. I
that
don't
was
like
you?
receivers that don't separate. And I also the big ones normally don't separate. And I'm normally right, but I was dead ass wrong about Ted McMillan
There
because
should be a phrase for when your name is just so much easier to say one way, but you don't like it. Is that like culturally disrespectful? He keeps saying, "Don't call me that," and it's like, I'm
Oh,
sorry,
really?
it's so much easier to call you that
He
than
wants to be
Tetaroa. Or
Tetaroa?
he wants to be T-Mac, and it's like,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
but
I mean,
but
that's easy
I
to say. We can go
it
T-Mac. We gotta work on that.
I know, you're right. That I'm being a jerk. Okay, the run game, I think what just struck me watching them on the ground, just utter physical domination. Like it was just like, oh my God. And I talked about this a little bit on NFL Live, but like I didn't watch this game in real time because obvious. And I saw he put up 180 yards, and I'm thinking he's got a Bijan style 80-yard run, right?
Nope.
Like usually if you see a stat line, like no, it was like 8, 10, 7, 12, 50. I mean, it was just like complete and utter. Like I think as a defense, that is the most embarrassing way to lose is the way they lost to Carolina in this one because they just got their asses kicked. I also want to add though, while we're talking about the Panthers, they stopped Dallas on the ground. That was shocking because do you remember how bad this Panthers run defense was last season?
Hmm.
Worse than the NFL.
Yeah, and Dallas has been
And
running the hell out of the ball this
they were
year.
running the hell out of the ball. That was another one where I thought the whole front seven played real well against the run. Derek Brown being back, big deal. Good player. So
Good
that if
player
I'm
for
a
Dallas.
Panthers fan, I feel pretty good about that too, because I think that's just something that they can continue building on.
Yeah, and I guess I was trying to hint towards this, the broader Panthers conversation that I guess there's not enough concrete stuff to grab onto to make some sort of declaration or prediction about the direction of the franchise. But like winning matters and feels good. But I also don't feel great about like where they're going. And I guess that all just boils down to the quarterback. Honestly, I'd probably feel a lot better if I had a little bit more faith in the signal caller, right? Is that or am I
Well,
just
that
like
brings up an interesting question because that actually leads me into my woof, which is the Titans. Like, do you, as a franchise, do you want to be in a place where you feel like you have the quarterback, but
right,
everything else is bad, or do you want to be where you feel? And I'm not saying Cam Ward is that guy
right? I
necessarily,
mean, yeah.
but if a coach takes that job, it's going to be with the belief that hey, at least they got a guy. Right. Like that, you don't take the Titans job thinking this is a team that needs a quarterback. You take it hoping that the quarterback just needs a better team. It's an interesting
The
debate.
problem, I mean, I guess you had to be asking this question from a fan's perspective because the challenge with asking that question from inside the organization, and you would be the owner, which means that like the organizational alignment kind of falls on you. So, like, I think that, no, I think I'd rather have, which is the really boring answer, is like, I'd rather have supreme confidence in my organization and the front office and the
Really?
coaching staff and be looking for a quarterback.
But I feel like the Patriots, who was
Right.
your alternate choice for a winner, are the one where like, okay, they got the quarterback.
Yeah.
They need a lot of other things, and they, you know, it's kind of a false question because,
No, not completely. I get why you would say it's a false question, but I
yeah.
don't think it's completely a
How
false
sure are you
question.
about the quarterback is the big
Yeah.
variable in this. I
Right.
think Drake May,
Right.
Mike Vrabel takes that job thinking he's a dude. Ben Johnson takes the job in Chicago thinking
Right.
Caleb's a dude.
But I
Probably.
guess the reason why I go the direction that I've gone is because like I can imagine a lot more things going wrong in a terrible organization with a supremely talented quarterback.
Yeah.
I just think about like the last 10 years of Steelers football is the other version of it where it's like, all right, shit is stable, but we can't find the quarterback. Like
Yeah.
I'd rather be in that situation than I don't know, just some team that's just perpetually 4 to 8 wins, but our quarterback's putting up numbers.
It's an interesting debate. As far as the Titans go, because they are my woof, I do want to address briefly. We don't have to talk about why he was fired. It's obvious. Uh, I think the death knell wasn't the offense being. I mean, it is the offense being horrible, but like the clock management and not knowing the rules stuff is just hard. So
Right.
you can't really Uh, I saw. Let me make sure I have this. 6 of the last. This is from my friend Jackson Bevins. I assume it's right. He just texted to your group chat. 6 of the last eight head coaches to have a number 1 overall quarterback have been fired.
Text it to my group chat. I have so many friends that
It's
know
my
about
Seahawks
football.
group chat. It's my Seahawks group chat,
Right.
right?
I'm
We
not
put
in any group chats. It's
unhinged.
okay.
Do you wanna be in a group chat that shares things like
No. It's Seahawks group chat. I probably have to look at a bunch of
Leonard
Baroness
Williams
tweets right now.
run me over with a jet ski?
What? Leonard Williams is
Totally.
amazing.
Is he the
Oh
best
my
player in
god.
football that no one talks about? I said that on the NFL
So
Live,
I
like,
pitched that.
"You
The
talk about
funny
him."
thing is, yeah, I pitched that as an idea for my podcast, a conversation, like a general conversation about how good Leonard Williams was, and the producers rightfully was like, "No, nobody wants to hear you talk
He's
about how good
so
Leonard Williams."
good.
Just so, and it's also like it's impressive. I think he ran down a receiver again this weekend. It's just ridiculous athleticism.
He
He was one of my winners, but he didn't have enough stats to follow up for me to push it.
yeah,
And we
but
talked about the Seahawks
he's
last week, but he's just so
yeah.
fun to watch.
The Seahawks pass rush was
You know
insane.
he has
Yeah.
plants. I got served some of his TikTok videos this
He does
weekend.
TikToks of plants?
Yeah, he cares for
He
his
has
plants.
amazing style. I've noticed that
Yeah,
whenever the Seahawks post,
yeah.
like, their little fit checks or whatever.
The hair kills
He's
it.
got incredible hair. I see the
How'd we
first thing
get on
that
Leonard
comes up
Williams?
oh, you're right, it's like an agriculture. How do I keep my
Told
mental
you.
health strong? He
You gotta follow
plants.
that man. Follow him.
These are
Get some nice.
beautiful and they're
I know.
thriving. This is amazing
He seems
content.
great.
He
He
should
seems
be
great.
more he should have more followers. This is so good, and
Let's
Pokemon. He's
hype him
really
up.
into Pokemon.
Let's
All
let's
right.
make him a celebrity.
Anyways, so
Oh, he
it's
kind of is a
not
celebrity.
we don't the number one quarterback thing, it's like, yeah, your team sucks. You drafted your quarterback number one overall, and then the coach gets fired because the team is bad. Mystery solved.
Oh, never mind. I was about to go on another tangent. Never mind. You're
About
trying to
the
keep
number
us
one
on.
quarterback thing. Well, I just want to talk about the
No,
Titans
about
really
Leonard
quickly.
Williams. Anyway.
Um, so funny. I had the worst timing ever because I wrote after that the news happened. I was like, Joe Brady, Titans coach, and then the Bills put up a stinker, and so my mentions now are just overwhelmed with Bills fans being like, "Take his sorry ass." Whatever. I'm not gonna get into
Oh,
Joe. Let's wait till the
yeah.
end of the year, right, to talk about
Mhm.
that. But it is. I don't think there's a right. I guess the only question I want to ask you, and this is kind of flows off of what we've been talking about, and you think about like, okay, yes, the coach gets fired, and then like Ben Johnson and Drake May come in, or Mike Vrabel come in, and now those teams are like headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
You want to be the second guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, you want to be the
Specifically,
second guy.
though, do you think this Titans job has appeal?
No.
Okay.
Um, I'm not sure. Well, the quarterback is appealing, but to the point that I made a second ago when you asked about like organizational structure versus having the quarterback is this Titan organization. Like I assume anyone who's listening to this podcast has already heard by now the rundown of decisions that they've made over the past 3 years that seem like erratic and inconsistent. And any head coach who's had success or failed will tell you that the ownership matters more than anything else. And right now, the idea that they they Vrabel won a tug of war with a GM, and then they didn't hire the GM that Vrabel wanted to replace him with, and then they got rid of Vrabel to keep that GM, and then the coach, then that GM hires the coach, then they get rid of the GM who hired the coach, and it just feels like nothing is aligned. They seem to
Mhm.
have no specific vision in it, and that would be scary for me to go into, unless like you are some sort of coach who had the cachet to get all the power and make the decisions and run the show.
Kind of. It's interesting because I think that is the another thread with Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel is it felt like that is sort of the benefit in some ways of entering like an organization. It's like a virus. Like if the
Right. Yeah.
organization is weak, you can't take over it. That's a
Exactly.
really messed up analogy.
No,
But
it's fair
yeah,
though. It's accurate.
yeah. Well, like Jags too, right? Like Liam
Yep.
Cohen gets the Trent Baalke out of the paint. You know, one of I feel like we as an NFL media industrial complex did not spend enough time talking about how funny it was that Liam was like, no, and then he got them to fire him. He's like, cool, I'll take the job. Like it's just so funny. But it
Yep,
is similar to what
it's
we're
true.
describing here. Yeah, you definitely would want to have alignment and belief with the front office, and the front office is a big question mark in Tennessee. They've got like this president who the fans and some of the B reporters are very,
Yeah.
very negative about. I've noticed that. So that would be a concern of mine. I'm worried for Cam Ward the rest of the season. I think it's going to be a really, really rough road. I mean, when you watch the Titans offense, everything sucks.
Yeah.
Everything sucks.
Yeah.
It's a brutal watch right now.
Uh,
And we've seen enough flashes of Ward to say there's something there, but it's brutal. All right, your woof is Drew Brees' number 3 team in the NFL, the San Francisco 49ers.
yeah. It's a transition in based on exactly what we were talking about though, is we absolutely feel like that's an organization that's aligned with the head coach's vision and the decision makers are all consistent with them. It's the San Francisco 49ers, but they're still the wolf this week. There was a lot of hype around them before the season started about how easy their schedule was and how they had
Can't
the
be
best
that word
odds.
again.
They had the best odds, I
Monkey's
think,
paw
at one point.
curls. Yeah.
Huh? What?
No, sorry. I said the monkey's paw curls because I was like, there's
Oh,
no way they can be as injured as they were last year. Sorry.
yeah. It's something that they're doing, man. It's not just last year. It feels like it's them every year. They're a physical bunch and happen to be a very injury-prone bunch all the time. And the Fred Warner kind of gruesome dislocation and broken ankle or foot or whatever is icing on the cake. They don't have the quarterback on offense. They don't have their quarterback on defense. They don't have their best weapons. This team just feels like they are snake bitten in a way that I don't
I
know
think
what curse they got.
what you said is like what's really important here. It's not just that they're injured, like the Bucs. I mean,
Yeah.
well, they're losing the best players. It's
And the
like
most important players.
and the most important
Right.
players. And
Yeah.
I would argue Warner. I mean, Nick Bosa
Bosa and
and
Warner. How
Warner are
you go?
literally the 2 most important players on the
Yeah.
team. They even lost my king, Eddie Pinheiro, is the only thing keeping me alive in fantasy. He got like stepped on walking. I was just
It's like so.
what is happening? Has anyone looked into whether Levi Stadium was built on an ancient burial ground?
Yes.
Has anyone investigated this?
I don't know what. Yeah, or it might have been some like Mike Shanahan went much of his like deep into his career without winning a championship, but then a genie came and he was like, "Give me a couple Super Bowls, none for my kids, none for my kids."
Would you, if you were an NFL head coach, take that bargain?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%.
Your kids
I'm
can dime
sorry.
out on your success forever.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, kids. Because well, are you guaranteeing one of them a Super Bowl?
No, I'm saying you win
Yeah,
a Super Bowl, your kids don't win them.
right. Yeah. Nah, give me that thing.
Good life
Appreciate
without
it.
winning a Super Bowl.
There may not even be a Super Bowl 20 years from now. There
Really
may
quick,
be
like,
one.
so, and this could be famous last words, but is it over for San Francisco? Like, do you feel like this is just too much? I do.
Yeah,
Sorry, Niners
nah.
fans. I just think Warner's too important. And the other thing I want to say, like, Fred Warner had been insane this year. I mean, he's insane every year, so it's like, okay, whatever. But he was like you've seen that picture, like the Cheeto holding the door. I guess that's not the wrong analogy. It's more
I
like
hadn't seen that one.
there's got to be some analogy for like the one thing holding everything
Oh
together, right? Yeah, that was Fred Warner.
I rode
He was the
randomly.
load bearing thing, yeah, object. I still got. I know. You know, nothing drives me crazier than when I can't think of the right analogy.
I do know it's gonna hit you in like an hour, and it'll be too late. Speaking of middle linebackers, I rode randomly, sat next to Ray Lewis on the train up here from DC, and it was just, huh?
Great combo.
Oh, incredible! I was kind of laughing about it on Get Up today. How there's no such thing as a non-intense conversation. Like it's just passion with every word. But anyway, you said Fred Warner made me think about middle linebackers who hold everything together.
Well,
got that analogy yet? Load bearing wall. We're gonna stick with that one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Like that, like or like when you look at a room and there's just like one pillar in the middle of the room, and you're like, how is this happening? And like weird structural engineering explains why. Fred Warner's like that one pillar. That's not good.
It's not. I mean, because I feel like the point of an analogy is that it has to be relatable. Like the best analogies are the ones that are like super relatable and like visual to everybody. And you're talking about architecture. Like, I don't know. I never walk into a room and like, hey, where's that load bearing pillar at? There you are, Fred, right?
All right. I'm going to okay, listeners, if you're listening to this, please post in the comments on YouTube your best analogy for what Fred Warner meant for this defense. By the way,
engagement. You're
speaking of social media and driving engagement, I finally
steamroll me while I'm making fun of you.
Yeah, I am going to steamroll you. After 7 years of doing the show, I've decided to launch a show Instagram. You can follow. I know. Wow. The Mina Keim Show. It's just Mina Keim Show on Instagram. I'm going to post clips here, but I'm also going to post exclusive Lenny content. People are always complaining that they don't see enough Lenny. The first post is a video from Lenny directly speaking to his fans, addressing this very issue. I just decided this morning, going to do weekly power rankings on my dog walks with Lenny, but that's where you have to find them. So Mina Keim Show on Instagram. Go check it out. Go check out the Domonique Foxworth Show, wherever you get your pods. I will be joining later this week to talk about this upcoming slate of games. We'll be back also on Thursday, of course, with our weekly preview, Week 7. You can check it out on YouTube or wherever you get your pods. That's it.